IBM's Instana is an end-to-end observability platform, and it supports visibility into hybrid applications and infrastructure, which includes IBM Z and Linux One. So in this demo, I'll show you how you can configure Instana to monitor your IBM Z or Linux One hardware via the HMC, the Hardware Management Console. So IBM, Instana supports ZHMCs in either DPM mode or classic mode. It utilizes the IBM Z HMC Web Services API. So you can actually see pretty much any metric that's supported by the API in the Instana console. And you'll see some of those supported metrics later in this demo after we get it set up. So this is an optional feature in Instana, and it's disabled by default. So the first thing you have to do is actually enable the IBM Z HMC feature flag. So my Instana server is running on OpenShift. It's actually on OpenShift on IBM Z itself. So I'll enable the feature in my Instana core YAML file. If you have Instana installed on a Docker backend, you would be enabling this feature code in your settings.hcl file. But in my core YAML file under spec, you will have a section called feature flags. And if you don't, you can type it in under spec.featureflags, and you can give the feature flag a name of feature.zhmc.enabled, and then enabled equals true. And this is all in the IBM documentation. But all you got to do is enable that and save your file. And now I'll just apply this core YAML file in the proper project in my OpenShift cluster. So in the project Instana core, I'll say apply this file, which is core.yaml. So I'll apply that. It's configured. So all these changes, or these 3 lines of changes, are being applied into my OpenShift cluster. One way to track that this is actually progressing is to watch the pods that are in that Instana core project. So in OC get pods in that project, and I'll just watch it. The way that this is done is when this UI client refreshes itself, and you'll get a new version of this UI client when it's up and running. So I see that looks good to me. The old pod then shuts itself down, and we know that we're good to go. So basically, the UI client pod restarted because we had to make a change to the UI. What's essentially going to happen is this Kubernetes section in the menu is going to change. So let's refresh our page for our Instana web browser. And we see that Kubernetes section actually became platforms, and now Kubernetes and IBM Z HMC are subsections under platforms. So the IBM Z HMCs are currently empty. We don't have any HMCs configured in a host agent, Instana agent yet. So that's our next step, is to point Instana in one of our Instana agents at the IBM Z HMC Web Services API. So I already have a couple of Linux guests configured as hosts with agents running on them in this Instana environment. You can see they're lab 061 and lab 062. So I'm just going to log on to one of those Linux environments and edit the configuration.yaml file that is on that Linux guest. And, I popped right here because I was looking at this file earlier, but if you don't know where in this long file, configuration file, the ZHMC section is, just search for it with whatever text editor you use. And I already have my information filled out, so I'm actually just going to uncomment these lines, and then I'll talk through what all you need to fill out. And again, this is all in the documentation, but you need your HMC host. That's your host name for your HMC. You need the Web Services API port. The default is 6794. So if you haven't went in and changed it, that's what you should use. And then you need a username and password for your ZHMC. So these credentials must have certain permissions. It's all documented in the IBM Instana documentation, but you need to have certain permissions within the HMC. So you'll have to get those and make sure you have those first. I know I have them, and so I'm just going to save and quit out of this file. And now to see this connection being made, this connection will be kicked off automatically. The Instana agent will reboot with the new connection being made. You can watch the agent log files either in your Linux host, or you can actually just watch them in the Instana web console if you're more inclined to use the web browser. I'll go to my lab 062 where I just set up that connection, and I go to the bottom and you see my agent logs. Now, I'm getting some error messages. Ignore the white messages here above that say it's connected because those are old and I uninstalled it for this demo. I'm now getting error messages. So this is expected. This pretty much happens every time you set this up. It's essentially going to tell you that it's unable to find a valid certification path. So there's no cert. The ZHMC cert is not on our Linux host where our Instana agent is. So we need to load that cert into our guest here. I already have my cert on this server. But you're going to have to do that if you want this connection to be made. Just pull it onto this Linux host. I use the keytool command just to import my certificate. I give it an alias. My key store is, so the key store you're going to want to load it into is under opt Instana agent. It can be a little bit different depending on which version of the Instana agent you have installed, but no matter what, it's going to be under opt Instana agent, and then you can just find the proper CA certs file. You give it the cert file name and then your store pass, change it as the default, so I haven't changed that. So let's just load that certificate in. Do I trust the certificate? Yes, I do. So my certificate has now been added. So again, you can either, so that change will be automatically picked up. You can either track what's going on in the agent log file, with something like tail on Linux, or you can go back to your Instana agent in the web browser. What I would recommend if you do this is to change your agent log level to debug just temporarily, because when the connection is made, like it just was, you'll get some new debug messages that tell you that it'll tell you when API calls to your HMC Web Services API have been successful. So you can see this request succeeded completely for that URL, which is my HMC. So looks good to me. Don't leave this in debug unless you have a problem. I'm going to change it back to info, change the log level, and I'm pretty confident that this is already working. So let's go back to our platforms section. Under platforms, let's go back to IBM Z HMC, and you can see I already have an HMC loaded up here into my Instana console. It's called HSys HMA1 because it's actually an HMA instead of an HMC. It has visibility into one system and has 28 partitions and 12 adapters. Let's look at that HMC, or HMA really. So HSys is the actual name of our machine. That's the physical IBM Z15. It's in DPM mode. Classic mode or Prism mode, basically non-DPM mode is also supported, and you'll get slightly different supported metrics if you're in DPM versus classic mode. Again, I've got 28 LPARs and 12 adapters. You see my IP address and my machine type model. If you're familiar with IBM Z hardware, 8562 is a IBM Z15, and this is a Z15 TO2. Let's look at our machine here. The summary page gives you kind of a high-level view of the machine as a whole, your HMC versions, overall CPU processor usage, overall power consumption in watts of your machine. You can look at processor usage by processor. So again, this is all interactable. This is a demo machine, so not a lot is going on here. You also get environment and power metrics, so heat load, a lot of temperatures and dew points and stuff like that for your machine. Also power consumption in watts, like I already mentioned, you can see how it changes over time. So we have clients here, especially on IBM Linux One, who are interested in the platform for sustainability reasons, and they are interested in looking at the power consumption of their machine and how application or infrastructure changes impacts this little graph here. On the partition tab, you can see we've got a bunch of, again, we've got 28 partitions. You can look at processor usage, network, storage, accelerator, and crypto usage by LPAR. Channels are not available in this DPM mode. They are available in classic mode. So that's one difference there. Adapters, again, you can see your adapter usage over time. And network, again, you can get information about your network over time. So this is all good information that different users might have different use cases for. You can set up alerts and metrics, to let you know when certain metrics are out of whack and something's out of the ordinary. So there's a lot of information that you can get from your hardware. So Instana is not only built for websites and mobile apps and applications and containers and Kubernetes platforms that can actually get visibility into your mainframe, IBM Z and Linux One hardware information itself. So in this demonstration, you've seen how to configure Instana to enable the Z HMC feature, how to configure your Instana agent to pull HMC metrics from the Web Services API, and you've seen some of the metrics that are then populated in your Instana console. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want to learn more.